The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys, they let us think that we're big boys, they let us make a lot of noise, but we ain't rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Dave, oh Dave. Are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
Alright, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Okay! Game on!
Game on!
Game on!
The password is...
Alright.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hello, Toby. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Please take your seat on my left. We'll let the edge prepare for takeoff. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and lift off.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall. Yeah, the deeper I go, the deeper.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and we're glad you're here for the ride. on Monday, October 2nd, Tuesday, October 3rd. If you're on the East Coast or across the pond, hope you had a great day as we are live right here in the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia as we are here 7 days a week. We welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listeners. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Like our music, get your horns up for Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy and Sons of Apollo. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. You can also follow us all over social media. We're on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. We're also on TalkStream Live. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. If you want to take part in this show, you got to do me a favor. You got to sign into one of the chat rooms, either on Rev Radio, Spreaker, the UPRN chat room, or on Facebook. All you got to do is join the SOR Space Travelers Club. Or if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I will get to your questions and comments in there as well. If you head to our website for $5 a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. You can also shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Read the encounter online. My latest blog is on there as well. You can also fill out an SOR Sightlines report. If you've had an experience you cannot explain, we'll get an investigator looking into it for you. And Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV, we have great video viewing for you as well. You know, I will be the first to say this isn't how we all wanted to start off our week with the massacre in Las Vegas last night, taking the lives of 59 people and injuring over 500 more. The brutality of what goes on in the shooter's mind, the mind of Stephen Paddock, age 64, who fired around 800 rounds into an innocent, relaxed crowd having some fun at the Route 91 Country Music Festival, we'll never know. It takes a sick individual to do something like this. I was thinking of canceling, Donna, and doing a show on this because, me being in Canada, I know my views on guns and gun control would differ, especially with many of you in our American audience. There's no way we could fully understand each other. Both of us are indoctrinated in our own laws, constitutions, and beliefs. Hopefully this madness will stop one day, but the moaning and griping by mere mortals such as you and I on social media will never solve the problem until the people we elect decide enough is enough. So on that note, we will be carrying on with tonight's show with Donna Hare. We pray for the victims and the city of Las Vegas, which is like my home away from home. I have family there, I have friends there, and I'm glad to say they are all safe. To tonight's show, Donna Hare will be going the distance tonight as a whistleblower who used to work as a contractor for NASA. We've all wondered if NASA was fudging or hiding photos of UFOs, aliens, bases on the moon, maybe Mars. Donna literally watched this happen. And tonight her amazing story will be brought to you, the Spaced Out Radio listeners. Donna is incredible and very knowledgeable with her information. And tonight we get a brief glimpse into the cover-up in space that happens on a daily basis right here on Earth. Donna Hare, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Fine. Thank you, Dave, for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much. And, you know, leading up to this interview, you and I got the opportunity to talk a few times. And what a beautiful woman you are when it comes to your knowledge and your ability to have a conversation and go into detail as well. So thank you so much for gracing us with your ability to tell your story about being a whistleblower, so to speak. Do you like that title? Do you like having that title?
Actually, they were all telling me that, and I was so offended at first. And because I always considered a whistleblower exposing things because they were disgruntled about it. And I personally was like, I just took offense at first because I loved working at NASA. I enjoyed it. It was wonderful. I loved being there and seeing history being made. So I was never disgruntled, and I never came off with what I had experienced out of anger. It was an experience I just repeated to family and friends that took off quicker. I just couldn't imagine. I guess I always see whistleblowers as someone is disgruntled. I never talked about it to change the world. To be honest, I didn't think anybody would believe me. Because I wasn't a supervisor. At the time, I wasn't even degreed. I was what you would consider someone that would sweep the floors or do the artwork. I was very low on the totem pole of authority. So my experiences, while they were personal and very real, I didn't feel I had the credentials to be believed, I guess. And it's something that nobody talked about with each other on site. And so I really didn't know that just telling family and friends that it would take off. But I do have proof, and since then people have sent me pictures of what I've seen. And so it's not just my word, but that's all I got is my word, my experience of what I've seen, what I know, the people I've met, which are awesome. I have to tell you, I feel extremely privileged now to have been a whistleblower. Now I don't mind the tag because I was not disgruntled. I've never been someone that was trying to crusade and get out there and promote myself to change the world and let everybody know. I mean, I was just always in awe that so many people knew about it and were keeping it secret. I mean, and not coming forward, but I saw a lot of punishment for people coming forward and talking about things. And so, not that I was ever afraid, I just never felt that it was going to make an impact, that I would share what I shared. I didn't know it was going to make that big of an impact. And because if I hadn't seen and experienced a lot of things I've seen and experienced, I doubt if I'd believe me. It would be hard. I would have been hard set to believe me if I hadn't seen it myself and know what's going on and found out. So I can't judge anybody for trying to discredit me or debunk me or whatever, or not believe me, or, I understand. I never take insult. But I do want to let everyone know that I was never disgruntled to do something like this, to be a meanie toward NASA. NASA's an awesome organization. I want them to have more flights and do more, research. I think that's very important for us. So
let me ask you this, though, if you don't mind, Donna. Sure. A lot of people, when they decide to come out with information, and we've had a number of whistleblowers on this show in the past, there is always some sort of quagmire they feel that they are in because, they feel like they're putting themselves on the line, almost breaking a code, so to speak. Did you struggle with that once you decided that you needed to come out and tell a few secrets that you had noticed with your time with NASA?
Well, you see, this was a gradual thing. It wasn't anything that was like all of a sudden. When word got around and people would ask me questions, I'd always answer them. So I would always tell my experiences because I was asked. I never went out there and tried to crusade to get my word out, So this was a natural thing for me. I even Dr. Greer called me as one of the witnesses for CSETI. To this day, I don't know how he hunted me down. I had an unlisted number, P.O. box. Not that I had other interests that I personally had a P.O. box and I wasn't hiding from anybody, but I did have people that would come into my life a lot. And so I just like my privacy. I like to know who I'm going to be talking to, who's going to knock on my door. I don't, I've had some experiences where I just want to know who's coming to my door or who's going to talk to me or who I'm going to talk to. And I won't go into that, but there are situations where this just did so naturally for me. I never felt, I guess because I never lied about anything, so I know I've been telling the truth. I've never felt I've done anything wrong. In fact, after a while, though, I started realizing that, hey, people need to know this stuff. And the more I found out with the secrets that are being kept by our government and by not only our government, but the governments, Canada, everybody. There's a lot of governments that are keeping things secret. Some are coming out now. I understand Canada, the Prime Minister, or former Prime Minister, I believe it was, or I don't know. He came forward and talked about UFOs being a reality and coming in and out of airspace. So, it was like such a gradual thing, and it was never intended to hurt NASA. My days there were wonderful, and I thoroughly enjoyed being part of a team that was doing the launches and part of what was going on of history. So again, it was a natural thing. I never felt in a quagmire because it was a very natural thing for me to do. I actually really didn't pay too much attention to what was going on the internet at the time. And it wasn't until much time later that I even found out my testimony at CSETI had made such an impact. Gary McKinnon and all of that, I had no idea until 2011 what that poor man was going through because of my testimony. One of the things I had said in my testimony. So, I started realizing, I know, and there's a small group of people and people out in the public now that I've been conversing with. They're seeing things. They want explanations. They want their government to come forward and say, hey, they're here. And, for me, after I found out how the news is cleaned, after the CSETI, there was pretty much our news medias are clean. How I rationalized in my own mind, because all of the witnesses that were there during that time period were credible, had proof. We all had proof. They did. And then everything was like crickets, nothing on the media. No. And how I balanced it in my own mind was, okay, maybe our government does know. People know that they're really coming here and they're really here and we've communicated with them. Maybe it would be an Orwell, crisis again, people killing themselves. And, so I kind of just sat back and thought, well, Big Brother's probably right. They don't need to let everybody know. But there are other things involved with this that I have found out, that we have back engineered so much of the crash. There's been more than one crashed UFO that we've shot down, by the way. And we've back engineered things from those craft that are so unbelievable. During the CSETI, I talked to some witnesses that were there that have worked in the Pentagon. We are back engineering so many things out of those craft that it's Star Wars. It's like, it's so unbelievable what we have. It could save the world, the pollution, free energy. I mean, we've got so much technology that's not being released. Now, that's bugging me. That's the only thing that's bothering me right now, is we have technology we've back engineered that could save the world, save everybody, and it's not being utilized. It's being kept secret. Now, that's where I'm getting kind of upset, because the media is keeping that quiet too. I believe that there are scientists, there are people that come out with ideas, and I have found out that their patents are stolen or blocked, or things that could make our world a better place. It really does affect me. in that sense. That bothers me, and I think we have a right to know. Everyone in the world has a right to know things, and I believe the world's becoming more sophisticated and can handle information that may be very scary to some. Some people don't want to know. I've had very close people to me say, I don't want to know the truth. And, that's their right. It would scare them too much, and they know that. So if a person asks, I'll talk and I'll answer questions. But again, everybody has that right not to know or not to believe or to want to know. And those that want to know, I think, should get answers and real answers, not just, slough them off and put them away. So,
Donna,
I'm kind of, you say quagmire. That's what the only thing that I have in my heart that I still feel needs to get out there. I've made amends in my mind with not everybody being told that they're here. Okay, it could cause problems. I understand that. But at the same time, there are things that we need to know to help our world to be better, to save lives and cut down pollution and do all the things we need to do now. So that's where I'm at right now with this whole thing. So
I want to introduce you to our audience and tell us how you started working on contract with NASA, because this is a pretty impressive story on how you worked your way into that area.
Oh, okay. Well, right out of high school, I didn't have a college degree at the time. I'd been taking a few college courses at night here and there. And I was a high school graduate, and I went to work at Phylth Ford as a file clerk, filing drawings away. And they were the drafting room drawings, And so I started looking at the drawings that I was filing away, and I knew that I could draw them. And I've always had a kind of born with a skill to draw. And I applied for a job in the filing department. I got on as a file clerk, and after a few months, I realized I still wanted to draw, but there was no opening in the drafting department. But the people in personnel said there is an opening in the graphics department, which were making the lunar slides and splashdown plot boards and all sorts of art that I could do. And at the time, I didn't have a college degree. I hadn't taken algebra. I had taken commercial arithmetic. And in fact, I was extremely weak in math. I didn't prepare for college and take the courses for college. But when I got the job, I started to not take it because they were going to need the math, the algebra for the launch slides and the moon and Earth trajectory, slides, and you'd have to know a lot of algebra for that. And so I almost didn't do it, but then this little voice in my head said, do it. You can do this. So I went on. I just felt that I should go on and push myself to do something. I knew I could draw it. It's just I pushed myself. I got the job. And as it turned out, it was a very specialized type of math. In fact, everyone in my department had a degree except me and one of the secretaries. And she and I, well, for me personally, they were happy because the way they had to teach me the algebra so that I could do the slides was mirrored image in reverse, and I had to read numbers backwards. And I think I have some dyslexia there, so it was pretty easy for me. I don't know. But I didn't know regular algebra forward, but they taught me how to they'd give me, the engineers and the flight controllers would give me probably 100 coordinates from the Earth to the moon and then back again. And they'd give me 100 coordinates, and then they'd tell me the high and low points on these coordinates that I would X them on some what they call scribe code, and I would have to then use a needle at 45-degree angles to scribe it, and it, not necessarily draw it, but I had to pull up the orange emulsion and let the clear plastic underneath the emulsion show through without nicking the plastic underneath it. A nick in plastic would have shown up, the big 10 by 20 foot screen in the control center would have shown up as a large break in the line. So you couldn't have a break in the line because this artwork that I was doing was for the control center 10 by 20 foot screen. And it was a real-time show to the flight controllers how you could, the flight controllers would sit at their monitors and they would get feedback, which they call real-time information. Also, the cameras that were projecting my format, they had a sensor that followed my line work that they had given me to do. If the light went off that course, it meant the mission was going awry. So the flight controllers had immediate visual of the mission going awry at that point, so they could correct or do whatever they needed to do. So this whole setup of doing this was good that I didn't have college algebra. It was good that I wasn't proficient in that because I was like a blank slate. They could teach me how to do algebra, mirror image in reverse, and read. I mean, it got so to where I was reading the numbers so backwards and doing all of this mentally, I would actually start to talk to someone and talk backwards in English. Or I was also studying Spanish at the time. I would, of course, that's understandable using your verb in a different place, but I would actually be able to think backwards and reverse and mirror image by doing that. And again, if I had been trained traditionally in college to do algebra, there's no way I could have probably done that as well as I did. So again, that was one good thing in my favor. So I did all of that. We did what you call buttons for the modules. There was monitors, or they call them CRTs, for the flight controllers to sit there and push buttons. And each person was, took a different part of the real-time information. Medical, they were testing, seeing their heart rates and doing all this sort of thing. So as it turned out, I was able to do that. And after a lot of time had passed, we started to do layoffs, and they were getting computers to do what I was doing, and graphic computers. This has been a long time ago. And I was kind of kidded around by some of the engineers that they weren't going to need me anymore because they could all sit at the computer and do it themselves. So, but as it turned out, they kept me because I was the NASA and most government organizations I found have what you call a backup. And I was the backup in case those computers couldn't be ran for the different displays. So I kept my job, and they did lay off quite a few people, but not me. I was the backup. So I felt real honored about that. So there was a lot of different jobs that I did. There was, that dealt with graphics. I had to deliver certain slides during mission to what they call the Bat Cave. That was the big cool cave behind the 10 by 20 foot screen at NASA. So I had what you call a secret clearance they had given me. They upgraded me so that I could go in places during mission to deliver slides and do things like that. So that's pretty much how I accidentally stumbled across this secret that everybody's kept in plain view. My abilities and what I've always tried to do is when I have a job, if I have any downtime, I go around looking and look at every step coming to, like, for instance, the slide. I learned also to go to the slide lab and how to make those slides. I backed up. I did all the darkroom work. I was learning all the jobs surrounding my particular job. So it wasn't a matter of just learning one thing. What I wanted to do, and I always have been this way with everything, is I hate waiting on people. And I'm telling you, in a government bureaucracy, you order something, it'll take 2 weeks and $500 to get a bottle of ink. You know, I personally would rather do everything myself, as much as I can do myself, to not wait around. So, you know, a lot of times I would go and look at things. Oh, how are you doing that? And a lot of the people I learned their jobs in front of me and behind me, they didn't mind teaching it to me because they enjoyed the fact that I do their work for them. And I didn't mind doing their work for them. And so I had some good, I didn't realize how I was making myself very valuable by learning everybody's job. That was not my intention originally. So, you know, I just was amazed that I would go places and do things. And one of the things that I did do, I walked down to where there was an older woman that was doing airbrushing of pictures that had come back, and it was during Apollo missions, and they'd done quite a few of those missions, and or some of them. But she was taking out a bar that was on the moon, and I could see that she was going around in a circle with a brush, flat head brush, and hot, opaque, what do you call it, thick ink on a negative. And she moved her hand and let me see the bar, and I remember looking at it, and I knew we hadn't gone to the moon yet, and I wasn't sure what I was looking at, but I knew we hadn't landed yet, and it was an anomaly that was definitely not supposed to be there. But again, I was focused on learning what she was doing. I wasn't really focused on UFOs or anything like that. I wasn't looking for that kind of information. That was, you know, I was really looking for learning my job, sequencing. So I remembered that, and then I went off, and sometime later I went and I had walked across the hallway. They had let me see actual film coming back. That was awesome, beautiful stuff. And I walked into one of the rooms. And by the way, NASA does also work for companies and corporations, satellite imagery and things like that. And it was a big, what you call a mosaic, which is several pictures put together and forming one larger picture. It was of Earth. I saw pine trees. I couldn't see a coastline, but it was a huge picture, and I'm looking at it, and the tech in the time, he says, I said, wow. He says, look at that panel over there, and I looked, and there was a round white dot on it, and I said, oh, is that a bubble on the emulsion? They were black and white films, so that could be the normal reply or question to ask, what's that dot? And he says, well, round dots on the emulsion don't leave round shadows on the ground. So I start looking, and sure enough, you know, it had a shadow. I saw the trees were shadowed, same direction. And I looked at him, and he had his arms crossed, and he's smiling. I said, what are you going to do with this piece of information? And he says, I said, is it a UFO, first of all? And he said, I can't tell you that. And then I said, well, he can't tell me. So he didn't say yay, and he didn't say no or yes. But I said, what are you going to do with this piece of information? He says, we have to take those things out before we sell them to the public. We can't let them in the pictures. And I said, oh, really? So I walked away from there realizing, okay, then it started all coming together about, oh, my gosh, this is interesting. So at the time I wasn't married, and I was dating someone that had been in quarantine with the Astronaut and away from sight. You know, and when I say that, I never went around and talked to people about this on site. It was, I don't know why, maybe we were all too busy, too focused, I don't know. But when we were off site, we were at a place eating, and I asked him. I said, I talked about it, and he says, well, just about all the astronauts have seen something. He told me, he said, when we landed on the moon, there was one of the astronauts said that there was 2 or 3 UFOs on a crater adjacent watching this. And he went into a lot of detail about it. I think I talked about this sometime way back, and I can't remember all of the details other than the fact that he also told me, Donna, he says, don't ever tell anybody I told you, and if you do tell them I told you, I'll say I didn't. And I said, well, okay. So he's disappeared off the face of the earth, by the way. And I have repeated what he's told me, and he says definitely it's known. So he was the first one that he was in quarantine with the astronauts. I don't know if your listeners know, but when the astronauts first came back from the moon, they started quarantining them because they didn't know if they were bringing some superbug back that could kill off our planet, which was a good idea to do that anyway. And so he said that the astronauts are told they're not supposed to talk about it. They'll get their what do you call it? Their pensions taken. They've had to sign notices on this, and so it's like, okay, I understand, but I think a lot of the astronauts have come forward. Many of them have come forward on it, so I think that's good.
The most notable being Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who passed away earlier this year in regards to ET contact and so on and so forth. When you started seeing that photo, when you saw the little round dot on the photo and there was a shadow to it and you asked it was a UFO, when he didn't give you a straight answer, I realize it's protocol that there are things that you don't want to know or don't need to know or cannot know. I understand the whole level of secrecy. But how did you feel at that time when you saw that NASA was smudging photographs to take these anomalies off pictures?
Well, right then and there, when he said that to me, I guess it's probably well, that's when I asked him, I said, what are you going to do with this information? And that's when he told me they're taking them out. So I put it together. Okay, NASA knows about it. They're taking them out on purpose. They're keeping this secret. And then again, I had to switch. Are they trying to keep everybody from being fearful? There was a point that I did feel the public needed to know. There was a point that everybody should know this. This is something that, oh my God, world shaking. Beings are here. We know they're here, So I'm thinking, okay, well, this should be out there. But over the time period, I realized, and my beloved sister who's gone now, she said to me, Donna, I believe you, but I don't want to know this. My own sister said, I don't want to know this. And I thought, oh my God, there's probably a lot of people out there that don't want to know, that like it this way. They don't want to be disrupted in their whole paradigm, way of thinking. And she says, I believe what you're saying, but please, I don't want to know they're here. And I think if it hadn't been my sister, I couldn't have felt the way I did. Not that I was going to keep it secret, but then I said, okay, only people that want to know and ask me questions, I'll talk about it then. If they're listening and they want to know something that I might know or have experienced, I'll certainly share it. And but there are those people out there with a very delicate sensibility. They don't want to know. It would shake them up and really scare them to death. I truly believe that.
Do you believe though that the public could handle the truth? I mean, let's go back to the late 60s, early 70s when you're working for NASA during the most important period of its time, the Apollo missions. And let's face it, during that time, there was still upheaval around the Vietnam War. There was still quite a Christian background, a strict Christian background, or Catholic background, whatever denomination, really doesn't matter, where people still, went to church. They still believed in the law of the Bible and the law of the land. There wasn't so many people open to it today. Do you believe, even looking forward, that people could handle what you were seeing with your own very eyes?
Yes, I do. And even back then, okay, I'm a fly by the seat of the pants kind of Christian, I guess. But I'm not, I even realized at that point, there are blocks in just about every religion to keep us very quelled in thinking we're very limited beings, that we are here, we are the center of, we're geocentric in the world, our little planet is all there is. But I have heard, now, I didn't hear it personally, but I've heard that the Catholic or the Pope at the time did come out and say, look, they're here. They're not bad. They're okay. Now, he disappeared. He retired, I guess. And this other pope that's come into being placed him. There is I believe, even back then, I would see things, I've watched our whole world. I'm 71 now. I've watched the paradigm change slowly but surely, that people, I think it's with the space shows, it's sad to me that they always make them out scary usually. But at the same time, there are shows out there that do show or reflect, I believe, a more commonplace contact with them. But to get back on what I'm saying, yes, I think today, in fact, I think our society would be willing to accept that wholeheartedly. In fact, I think some elements in our society now are trying to squash it. They don't want that information out big time because it would change. What it would do is, okay, I'll be honest. I love the actors that come from Canada. I've loved, that's probably all I ever have known about Canada. I've never heard anything bad. I know our pollution just really messed you guys up for a lot and things like that. But at the same time, I'm kind of geocentric in my USA. I think, I don't mean to be, but I've noticed that over the years, we are starting to teach multicultural information. The internet has connected everyone, people in Venezuela, people in Australia that I consider friends, like part of family now. I'm connecting to more and more people. And I think if they let everyone know these beings have been coming here for a long time, it won't be so much fear maybe, and we'll be more not just global, but we'll be universal people rather than just our little country, our one singular country. We'll be more global, more world connected, and then after that, more universally connected. And I think we're ready for that now. I'm not saying that a lot of people wouldn't go crazy, and I think that's what you're seeing right now. You see a lot of people that are just really, that's one of the symptoms. And, I've studied human nature very closely. One of the things, when your paradigm starts shifting, it's one of the hardest things in the world to reconcile. When mine was changing and shifting, I had to either, it was as if I had 1 foot, it was a deep chasm crack in the earth between my legs, 1 foot, one side and 1 foot on the other. And you can't straddle both paradigms at the same time. You have to make the step. You have to step over to either one, not believing or do believing. And it gets to a point where it's very disruptive in your own mindset. And that's what's going on in the world right now. I think people are on a what you call a collective consciousness right now. you'll see more and more crazy people and events happening, and you're going to see, of course, they don't publicize all the wonderful things that are happening too. I tend to believe there's a lot more positive in the world everywhere, all over. I think we're all really unified in wanting life, happiness, pursuit of happiness, no war, food and opportunities and things for our families, and the love of our children is really motivating a lot of people right now, I think, too. So I think right now would be a good time for, of course, those that are going, I call them crazies, that are going, and they're really, what they're doing is they're sensing, they're feeling what's really happening in the world on a more collective consciousness level. That the more hate and violence that they can promote, it will distract you from the positive things that are happening in the world. And that's kind of what it is to keep your foot on the negative side of the chasm and not step over to the positive side. That's all that is. So when I see these things on TV, I've really had to start pacing myself, and all of the things that go around it. The media is very bad about stirring up more hate and violence, and I think that that's an injustice to all of us that they would do that. But again, it's time. Your question of I think that, yeah, you're going to have some problems. You're going to have probably some people that are really upset and may even commit suicide. But what we all have to remember is that if we're not brainwashed and we're not, done in a certain way, our personal, private decisions in life, right or wrong, are our own responsibility. If we do something wrong, that's our responsibility, and no one else is to blame for it. We act on something. So I think personal judgment of ourselves, and keep steady on the course of being the way you think you should be, the proper way, nonviolent. Do things, use the law, use the legal system. At least here, I feel it's still in place. If you have something that you have to, talk about and challenge, and you think you need violence, go through the right channel. There are attorneys out there, some good attorneys, that will take cases. And I personally have lived through the time period way back of the prejudice and the rednecks and all that stuff. And I have personally, on 2 different occasions, my testimony has helped a minority find true justice. And it was because I was with them or around them. I was able to use the law to make sure that they got justice. So these people that are complaining about not having justice, there are people like me who's not black who sees it and will stick up for them. And there are people in the law, I believe there's more positive people in the police force than there are negative ones. Now, granted, there are negative ones, but I would like to see, if they don't already do it, a very strict psychological testing for police to find out. There is ways of developing testing that you can find out if a person is either so scared they're trigger happy and kill everybody, or if they're prejudiced, or if they're bigoted. And this goes for any color of skin. I'm not talking about just one class of people. I think there should be psychological testing, if there's not already, to allow people to handle a gun as far as the police force and have authority over you, because there are people that are not suited to do that kind of work. So again, we're going through a birthing, I believe, right now. We're going to see a lot more negativity, but if we can meet every negative experience with a positive reaction or a positive build up on that, we can do it. Now, I do know that the gun laws are different, and I will say this much. I would like to say this much. I have gone to college now, my degree, and what I have found is the liberal agenda is being taught in the universities in a very subtle way. One of my criminology courses, the professor was a retired police officer. And he taught us, he said, he was teaching the class, and he said, guns have never shown through testing, they did testing, they took statistical testing of the crimes that were committed. Guns never deterred a crime. Therefore, you don't need guns anymore. People don't need guns. Well, I raised my hand because he was talking about a statistical analysis of crimes committed. And that's where they drew their information that guns were not shown to prevent crime. Well, I raised my hand and told him, I said, first of all, this testing was done by a group of people that from the crimes committed. I said, it only shows crimes committed. I said, how many people has guns prevented a crime? Was it ever reported? You don't have that in the statistical analysis. But the whole time I'm saying this, he's smiling at me. He's happy I'm saying this. And I said, first of all, 3 times, and I'm 71, and at the time I did this, I was like 50. I've had 3 events in my life because I had a gun, I prevented an attack on me. 3 times. That's just me. I prevented it, and I didn't report it. So if it's one of me that is reported, hasn't reported a crime that I prevented, how can the statistics show accuracy saying guns don't prevent crime? When I haven't, you don't report it. It's not a part of the statistics. And he was smiling at me the whole time because he was forced to teach that in university. Now, first of all, if there is a request to get rid of your guns, guess who's going to get rid of their guns? The law-abiding citizens that follow the law. Will the criminals do it? No. Will, people that are crazy do it? No. Then what happens? I've been, when I was a young woman and I was pregnant with my son, I had a maniac alcoholic put a gun to my head, threatened to blow my head off. And I'm telling you, the only thoughts that ran through my mind at the time was, this isn't going to hurt. Because he had it at my temple. I knew he shot my head off. Now, the vulnerability that you have when you have someone holding a gun on you, you will never understand it unless it's happened to you. There's no way that you can feel safe ever again unless you have a gun. And I'm sorry, I went and got a gun, and I keep it, but I don't carry it with me everywhere I go. But there is good and there is bad. This guy did take his wife home and shot her 3 times, and he got away with it because back then you had to do a complaint on somebody that shoots you for him to arrest them. It was crazy.
I can tell you point blank, and I know this kind of went off topic a little bit. I can tell you point blank, in my life, in a hostile situation, in my 44 years, I've only ever seen one gun. And that was in a bar fight outside the bar. My buddy wanted to fight this guy, and he pulled up his pant leg to show a little .38 caliber ankle holster. And
right.
That's the only time. I think I was about 19 or 20 at that time. And that's the only time I have ever seen a gun out in public, besides on a police officer.
Right.
Did
it deter the fight?
Well, the guy walked away. Okay, because, he was of minority, I will say that. And they had been known to cause some trouble at our local bar. And, you know, we had the crowd, and I was part of the crowd where, you know, the weekend was either, you know, us being young, horny, and stupid. It was either pick up a girl or get in a fight. That's just the way way the weekends went, you know, in my town. You know, but when that happened, I thought, oh my goodness. You know, but I am from a family that has been affected by gun violence, and I've chosen up until this point in my life to not have anything to do with any sort of weaponry in regards to guns. You know, I have
and you know what? I think that's wonderful. I really do. I can understand where you're coming from, and because we learn through our own personal experiences. And like I say, if all of the people had no gun, this is not a perfect world we live in. That's one of the fallacies they try to teach us. It's not a perfect world. And you never know when you become a target or when you're accidentally in a place you shouldn't be, in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, you don't know that. And what I'm saying now is, I personally, if I ever had to shoot someone, it would probably kill me. I don't want to ever hurt anybody, but I definitely don't want them to hurt me. If they're breaking into my home and they're coming after me, I know they're going to hurt me.
On that note, I have to put you on hold. We're going to continue this conversation with Donna Hare, NASA whistleblower, right after the break here on Spaced Out Radio. NASA photos being smudged. Donna's seen it. We're going to get more into that. Can people handle disclosure? We're going to get into that and more. Of course, we are going to get to your questions as well. I know they're lining up in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. I know they're lining up on Twitter as well. We will get to them. And the party continues in the Spreaker chat room as well. Pretty sure they're going to be blowing up a bong here pretty quick. The way that's going there. At least a few of them are. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We will be back with hour number 2 right after this, so stick around.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spacedoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian paranormal investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from Your Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Want a place to share your experiences without feeling judged? We have the place for you. If you've experienced sightings or contact with ETs, ghosts, cryptids, or UFOs, and you'd like someone to confidentially look into the matter, just fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Our goal is to help you get the answers you need to the experiences you've had with our professional team of researchers. Your information stays 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines report. Fill out your experience today only at spacedoutradio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com, starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, it's the first Tuesday of the month, which means it's the Spiritual You with Rachel Kirkland. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.9 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listeners. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Chatillionet. Chatillionet is your password. Make sure you use your password wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets it every single night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to connect live with me during the show as well. You could give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You could also join us on Facebook for our live chat in the SOR Space Travelers group. All you got to do is sign up for that one. You can also follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. We're also heard on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live. You can tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You can read The Encounter online, rock out to some Bumblefoot, watch UFO Seekers or Contact TV videos, and so much more. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with Donna Hare. She is a former NASA contractor who actually watched and saw with her own eyes photographs being smudged with UFOs and other anomalies in them. So that way, nothing that went to the public would actually be seen to have any sort of UFO or anomaly on there. Donna, welcome back for hour number 2.
Hi, I'm back.
Now, right before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about whether or not the public could handle it. And handling it is knowing about UFOs. This leads to Gail's question. What do you think of the statement, the public cannot handle the truth? I'm of the belief, after all the interviews I've done on this show, that I don't think the public is ready. There are too many experiencers out there who've had too many things going on, from nasty surgeries to MK Ultra happenstances and so on and so forth, that I think if we opened up that Pandora's box, whether it's with experiencers, whether it's with mainstream religion, or even the government in general, I think we're just getting into something that could be very, very ugly, could cost all governments of the world a lot of money in lawsuits. And I could just see, what about the list where people believe that they are being taken from Earth and never coming back? I mean, there is so much going on, and if there is documentation somewhere in Washington, D.C., or Langley, where the CIA headquarters is, or wherever it may be, I don't think the public is ready to find out the full truth of what is going on with disclosure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I completely understand what she's saying, and it's one of the things that I found out as one of the witnesses for the Disclosure Project, the CSETI. We had a man coming there that was going to be one of the witnesses on the board, and he was from the Black Projects and the Deep State Projects. And what they have is a group. In fact, I know this, I'm not just saying this, but I've had experience with knowing one of the people that did this. They would go out. See, we have technology that we back engineered. We can stun people. We can erase memories. We can act. We have back engineered craft that look exactly like UFOs. They don't have all of the abilities a UFO has as far as 90-degree turns at high rates of speed, but they can look and act. This man was going to be one of the witnesses that goes out. Our government has a group of team that goes out. If you report you've seen a craft or something, they immediately will try to disinform. Let's put it this way: in the beginning, when I started saying things, I had been told not to talk. Okay, I guess they were trying to intimidate me, but following me and taking pictures and doing all kinds of stuff. And the thing of it is, I told them, I said, look, I've already rang the bell. I've already told this on the internet and all kinds of stuff. I can't unring a bell. I experience these things, you know. So how do you unring a bell once you start talking about it? And so I never quit. But at the same time, they do try to intimidate you. They do have crews that go out and pretend like there's even drugs that they can put in your eyes, and truly, like some of these X-Files and movies that they're showing people have actual stuff that we've got in it that they can erase your memory or put screen memories in. And it's not necessarily aliens doing it. They're trying to engender fear in groups of people. I'm not saying people aren't abducted, but at the same time, they are not going to hurt them and take them away forever. Okay? I don't believe that. I think that these people that are having horrible experiences are really the group that's going out there, and it's a massive group of people that work to discredit and cause fear in people about UFOs and aliens. I've had a couple of contacts in my own life, and alone and with a group of people, and they're very positive, at least the ones we've contacted and have been in touch with. So we're not, as far as lawsuit to the government, I don't see how that's even possible, because when they disclose it, if they ever do, it would be done in such a way, I'm sure, that they don't have the responsibility behind it, you know, that anybody can sue them about it. But what they could be sued for is this group that's going out and maliciously doing this stuff to people. And that would be, I'm not saying all of them are. I do think that these beings there's different groups of them that I've found out. Some are just here to observe. Some are to gather knowledge and see our inventions. Some are here probably checking our DNA, you know, these people that are being done the way they're done, and if they have a hardship about it, you know. And so what I'm saying is, I don't think a government can be sued for that. I don't think you can well, at least not here, sue a government municipality or anything like that. But at the same time, as far as some people not handling it, I agree. There's a lot of people right now that are not handling it. They're not handling the whole group mindset of this anger and fear and all of this, and that's all it is fear. So as far as the other, the people that, I'm sure there's abductions, and I'm sure that they're what these people are saying, but there's also a lot of experiencers that have had a lot of positive, but you don't hear that publicized as much as the negative ones.
Well, the positive ones, they're not as sexy. I mean, you look at Travis. You look at what Hollywood did with Travis Walton's story.
Yes.
They turned it right around. Travis believes that they saved his life, that he was probably dead when he was hit with that beam of light, and they took him to bring him back.
Right.
You know, I mean...
You see, I got to talk to him one-on-one. I got to meet him once, and I asked him, I said, that movie, Fire in the Sky, were you really that afraid? He said, no. And he told me the same thing you're saying, you know, that they were very positive. He was very frightened at first, but he said they were positive. I'm sorry, what? Hello?
No, I never said a thing. Are you there?
Oh, I'm hearing a back. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
I heard another voice online talking. No, he said that it was a positive. He said that they dramatized the movie to make it more scary than it was for him. So, you know, I like to talk to the people directly, and you can't believe everything you hear on the news. It's all dramatized too, along with movies are done that way for ticket sales. So you're absolutely right on that. I think that I think the public is ready. They're as ready as they're ever going to get right now. But this fear element, usually people have this. It's so funny, and I've said this on the other thing that I was talking with someone else about all this. I said the people that have talked to me and made fun of the fact that I was interested in the subject matter. It's very rewarding to have them call me in a panic mode, trying to get me to believe that they just saw a UFO over their head and they know what it was. It was not from us, and blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to convince me, and I'm very calm and saying, I believe you. And no. And like, they don't think I really believe them because I'm so calm and not as excited as they are. So it's like, yeah, people will be excited, but I think shows like yours, people have to know too that if you have an encounter, don't be afraid, because I do know that shuts off the communication. If you're fearful, the good ones don't come at you if you're afraid. They'll back away. So this engendering fear in people keeps them from communicating with them. They're just beings. They're not gods. They're just from other worlds, like another country. You know, they're highly technological, and they're probably high IQs, but they're not gods. They're just people, and they have their own agendas. They have their own worlds they're doing. So that I truly believe that if we could communicate, of course, with our way of governments, we have to be separate. And I think what they're waiting for us to do is at least get along with each other before. I mean, why would they want to intervene in our society right now? We're not even getting along right now. Our collective consciousness is really angry right now. It's really upset. It's not there yet, so I don't know. Excuse me. I do believe we're ready for it. We're as ready as we're going to ever get. We're definitely as ready as we're going to ever get.
I want to go to Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Canadian Joe has a question. He is saying, Donna, did you ever know anything or learn anything about the missing Apollo films?
Yeah, I heard that they were missing, but I noticed that. Do you hear that?
No, I am not hearing it.
You're not hearing what I'm hearing? Oh my gosh!
Are you hearing Are you hearing an echo or something?
Not an echo. It's like metal on metal. Weird. I don't know.
Because when you're talking, I have my microphone on mute.
Oh, okay. I got you. So, what was I saying? What was the question?
In regards to the missing Apollo films.
Oh, okay. Well, all I know is, this is what's so weird. When I left NASA, from what I understood, they started burning everything, destroying all the manuals, the maintenance manuals, how to do things. They probably did burn everything. They had an incinerator there burning stuff. They may have just burnt it all up, which I can't believe they did. I thought they were supposed to donate them to the Smithsonian Institute. That's what I thought they were going. Some of the artwork I did was given to the Smithsonian Institute also. So I'm thinking that's where they're at, but I just can't see them. I've heard that they were burned, but that may have been just to cut down the request to get copies of them, maybe. I don't know. You know, our government doesn't always tell us the truth about things. So it's a possibility that's where they're at, because that's what I heard. They're taking a lot of the things there. And that's maybe why, to get up and running again, they're going to have to figure out how we did what we did in the past, because I know that they got rid of a lot of the manuals that I did, and maintenance manuals and all kinds of stuff. So they may not know how to do it. They're going to have to do it all over again and figure it out. So,
for people who may not know what those videos are, can you define, please?
Well, video was taken on all the missions when the astronauts were on the moon, walking around and through glass windows of the craft. But they took a lot of in fact, I saw one that they had brought back, and I was one of the test clients to look at it, I guess you'd say. It was Technicolor, I think, had been one of the people there working in our labs. It was the most gorgeous film I had ever seen of the craft lifting, and then all of the beautiful things. It was just awesome. These blurred pictures you see, they're all touched up. Anything blurred is touched up. So just know that. It's not. They came back. The pictures in the film came back beautiful. It was gorgeous. Now, I didn't see any UFO pictures or film on UFO. They didn't show me that. But the only thing that I've heard about anything missing is we got rid of a lot of the work that we had done, maps and things, and also that they had burned a lot of stuff. As far as the missing film, the only thing I can guess at that it was donated, and I think I heard things were donated to the Smithsonian Institute. So, again, I'm not sure of that. I can't swear to it on a stack of Bibles, but that's hearsay from what I've heard.
All right, let's get to another question here. This one comes from Bob. He is asking, Donna, did you ever know Dr. Carol Rosen, Wernher von Braun's assistant?
Yes, I did meet her. She was one of the witnesses. We kind of hung out together. And she's a very, very smart lady. Definitely smart lady. I was trying to think, some of the things that she told me were very personal, but her likes and dislikes, which I won't repeat. But she is a very smart lady, and I did get to hang out with her and her husband, the man that was, that he's a movie star, was a star, some actor star, and we got to go around the Capitol. In fact, she knew where the secret passages ways were. I don't know if you can do this now, but it used to be you could walk into the Capitol, and every congressman's and representatives' doors were wide open. You could walk right into their offices. They were supposed to keep them open, and that any person in the nation could walk in and talk to you. Okay, and they were showing me how to lobby this disclosure project. To do disclosure. And we walked around the Capitol a lot. We went into one area, and I'm following them. And we're going up to this elevator, and it was so wild. And all of a sudden, they turn left, and we go through a kitchen, and there's cooks in there. And I look to my left. We take another right, and we go downstairs, and we're in the basement. And there's trolley cars, or those cars that go back and forth. Supposedly, they transport the Congress people underground, to the Senate and to the, halls, different halls and stuff. So I really, she had great insight as to Washington. Obviously she was there a lot, and I believe her that her testimony is 100%. I mean, 100%. The testimony of what she said, and I do believe her. We talked one-on-one about it, and definitely she's telling the truth. Von Braun, I never got to meet him, of course, because he's been long gone, but no, I believe that she definitely repeated exactly what he wanted her to repeat, definitely. But I met her at the disclosure, so I still am friends with her on Facebook and all that, so but that's about it for now. I don't, communicate as often as I should, but probably.
Let me get to another question here. This one from Gail. She is asking, have you ever received any reprimands or threats for what you have exposed?
Yes, definitely. it's something that I just typed up. It's a testimony. It's documented. I've sent it to Dr. Greer and some other people. I've had attempts on my life more than once. And I'm not going to go into it right now, but it's documented, and I wanted that documented in my testimony given to people. And right now, it's something that I'm not afraid of, and that's what's so crazy for me. I don't understand why I'm not more afraid. But I will tell you of one incident that a drone car tried to hit me. It was a drone car. It was early in the morning, and I was a teacher at the time, and I had been shown on the History Channel and Discovery with my testimony. So I'm assuming that was in regards to that. I shouldn't have gone public with my testimony. But I've been told by two spooks that I should not talk about it, but I do anyway. Anyway, this drone car, this is one event. I was going down this long road, Macau Road, not Macau, one of the roads behind my house, Dixie Farm. And it was foggy. The fog was so thick, I could only see a foot in front of my car. There was no white line down the middle of the road. And the fog was really, really thick. I would always go to school as a teacher early in the morning so that I could get my copies done. It was quiet, and I could get everything organized before classes rather than stay late after work. So I'm coming down this road, and I'm going about 20 miles an hour because of the fog. I have my lights on, and I stop. I could barely see the light. It turned red. I stopped at the light, and the light turned green, and I started to go, and in my head, I heard, "Don't go." It yelled at me, "Don't go." And as soon as I didn't go, this car, it was a drone car because it was silent, was white, it had no lights on. It came out of the fog going at least 100 miles an hour. And it went by me so fast, it was a streak of metal. And I realized if I would have just taken off a little bit, I'd have been hit in the door and killed. Well, I know it was a drone car. Who has drone cars? I don't know who it was, but I know it was probably the same people that's told me to not talk. And I don't know. There's been other things that I can't go into right now, but there are situations where the voice in my head that said don't go, I don't even know where that came from. And the only thing I can think of is somebody up there likes me and wants me around some more. Who was it? Was it an angel? Was it God? Was it an ET? Who was it? You know? But it said, don't go. It yelled at me and it just shook me, you know, and I didn't go. And like I say, if I hadn't heard that voice say not to go, I wouldn't be here now. And this was an attempt because, like I say, if it had been a regular car with the lights on, making noise. No, it was a drone car. I've seen drone cars. I know what they look like and what that is. So I don't know why I'm not more afraid. Maybe it's because I know I'm being protected too. On some higher level, somebody wants me to stay around for a little longer. So I'm going to try to do it as long as I can. And again, you never know. You never know when it's your time. So
well,
I feel safe.
Is that something that you continue to worry about? Or have you had to put that behind you?
Well, I don't consciously worry about it, but I look for safeguards like, by the way, helicopters and things like that, and these little drone little things, you got to watch out because they have stuff they can shoot you with and give you all kinds of cancer and all kinds of crap. And there's so much back engineered technology that's so scary and so bad for people, but it also could be used for good rather than knocking people off. So I think that's a big part of why they don't want me to talk is because I'm pushing for the technology to be released. And And I think that's the part they want to keep secret. That's the only thing I can think of. It's the technology they want to keep quiet. So, and from what I'm figuring out, it's probably pretty easy. I don't think it's that hard to do. I think that it's probably so simplistic that they're really scared somebody's going to figure it out. You know, it's just what I'm guessing. I'm just guessing about it because I'm not into physics. I don't really know, anything about math or anything like that, but I can visualize and understand things through visualization of things. But no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on there. Who's really wanting to take me out? Who wants me to shut up? And again, Dr. Greer had told me, he said, Donna, once you get your testimony out there, you're safer. Well, maybe safer, but I've been remembering and learning a lot more than I've been talking about. And I think maybe it's the lot more that they don't want me to talk about. So, stuff like I'm talking to you about. New discoveries, things that they need to release to the public, things like that. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I don't worry totally because, like I say, in that sense, I think they'd have to sneak up on me, do something out of the ordinary. And I just have always learned all my life to protect myself. I believe women should also know to be protective of themselves too. Don't walk in dark alleys, park where it's lighted. It's just common sense thing that people should do, women and men too. So I tend to do that normally anyway. So it's no big deal.
Going back to NASA in regards to the whole Apollo program, and let's move it forward now to 2017. There has been a lot made over the last number of years that we potentially have already been to Mars. When you were working at NASA, did Mars ever come up?
Oh yeah, there was several missions planned after our last one, and that's why we sort of stopped abruptly on the missions. And yeah, Mars was on the agenda a long time ago. That's been one of the other things that they were going to do. I remember the whole agenda was Mars and the moon and the Mars, and then there was also things that the things that we were looking at in space, things that we were building and finding that zero gravity really helps in building ball bearings and crystals and things. We also, I think, we're going to go to, what was the other things that they were going to do? Oh, study how to prevent meteors, things, asteroids, and things like that from hitting Earth, because they do believe that there are asteroids out there that do circle close to the Earth, which I think one has come pretty close recently, and watching it. But, those are things that I think that are beneficial, that we have learned that. I think 4th of July, I don't know how long ago it was, NASA did do something that did knock an asteroid. They were able to successfully shoot it and knock it out of, I don't know if it was coming to us, but they wanted to test to see if they could do something with asteroids. And were successful in that, but you didn't hear too much about it on the radio or anywhere else. But they also found that these things are not made out of the same stuff, that some of them are not solid, iron or whatever, and breaking them up might be more disastrous than it is beneficial to do that. So it's a study that I think they need to do too, because that would help survival of Earth if we needed to do that. And I think that's good to do that. So as far as future projects, yes, that was on the list of the to-dos, was to go to Mars. And I've heard about this forever from people that want to be astronauts to Mars. So I think it's really cool.
John Porter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio is asking, with all of this going to Mars stuff, is it an attempt to hide any sort of secret space program or launches?
A secret part of it. I don't know about hiding it, but maybe to get funding for Mars will help get funding for any other projects that they have, because sometimes they have one project that they get funding for that they could use the funding for other things that are kept secret. So, I can't say for sure, but there definitely is stuff that goes on that the public doesn't know about. And I think that probably the Mars research, some of the pictures I've been seeing coming back from the different people that are taking pictures, they're awesome. They are I can see things that are not normal rocks, that some of them look very carved out, right angles on them and things like that you wouldn't see in nature. So I think there was a life civilization on Mars at one time. I do believe that, and possibly if they can show that there was life on Mars, maybe that's an easy way to ease us into the fact that there's life on other planets. I don't know, but I don't know what their whole plans are for now. I mean, I'm out of the loop on that.
But you never heard any talk around NASA about any sort of secret space program?
No, I didn't. In fact, I didn't even hear about that until Gary McKinnon had he had found some secret stuff like that. So, well, there was always secrets going on. I mean, I found out the Department of Defense was called the War Department then, which is better than Department of Defense, I think. It definitely is the War Department. They were involved with NASA big time, and from what I gather, they've always been involved with NASA, kind of like we didn't realize that. We thought this was, another agency that was, when I went to work for them, space agency, I thought our main goal was just space and research and, go where no man has gone before, So I didn't realize we were heavily indoctrinated by the Department of Defense. And I know I've worked on projects. I was locked in a room and couldn't come out of it. And it was all coded information. I did wiring schematics, and I had to use boxes and codes within the boxes. I couldn't use electronic symbols. And guards at the door. We didn't have cell phones at the time. And guards at the door where you couldn't take any paper out and things like that. And it's just, there's a lot that's even kept from the public. We were, as workers there, we were locked in a room the size of a large closet, just 4 drafting tables fit in there snugly where you could barely walk by them, and locked in a room. And none of us really appreciated being treated like animals, but we were. And in the sense that, we knew we were being controlled and commanded and blah, blah, blah. So I got my first taste. I don't doubt that there is secret things going on with the Department of Defense and NASA. I'm sure there is. And Gary McKinnon, he did say something about seeing a roster list. Now, that's where I've heard that from. But I have to admit, while I was there, I never heard anything. When I was working there, I didn't hear anything. But other than the fact that you could tell they were around, people were around that were not NASA employees.
With the Apollo program, did you ever get a chance at that time to talk with any astronauts to hear what they were saying, or more importantly, seeing?
Well, more recently, I got with I got to talk to Edgar Mitchell during the CSETI, and this was what was so strange. When I worked out there, I understood he was going to do some parapsychology test in space. And at the time I worked out there, and I'd read a blip in that, and I wanted to talk to him, but of course, being a lowly person on the totem pole, I never got to interface with the astronauts or anything. And at that time, I really wanted to talk to him about his experiments and things in space. I'm very, very much into parapsychology, all my interest in my spiritual matters and principles and all kinds of stuff. And I wanted to talk to him about all of that. And while at the disclosure, we were all eating in a big room. You know, we all had dinner together. And there was several of us. And it was so strange because, you know, I introduced myself, or we were introduced to Dr. Mitchell, and very nice man. And I had him sign a picture of himself for a student I had who was really into the space program, and I had him autograph a picture for him. And it was so weird because after that, when we were all through, Dr. Mitchell and I just got up and walked out of there together down the elevator, which is new to go talk to each other. We walked out of the elevator, and now, years before I wanted to talk to him about spiritual things, but I never had the opportunity until several years later during the CSETI things. And we walked down the elevator, and as I was going down the elevator, I said, Dr. Mitchell, if you'd have known that I was in charge of doing the launch and landing slides for you to come back, you might have been really afraid. And I thought, you know, I tried to make a joke, you know, like maybe you would have been scared. And he didn't laugh. He didn't know that was funny at all because, you know, I thought it was funny. I was trying to break the ice going down an elevator. But we got downstairs and we walked the streets of D.C. for hours talking spiritual things. Not once do I ever remember talking about UFOs or aliens. That's what's so wild. And we talked about metaphysics. We talked about, he was one of the few people in my whole life I could start to talk about something or ask something. He would fill me in so much more and teach me so much more. I mean, I didn't have to explain my question or explain anything. It was almost simpatico of thought and answer and so much more information. And I got a wish fulfilled from years before. So I thought that was pretty cool that I got to talk to him before he died.
Did he mention what he saw?
Yes, he talked about his, well, he didn't actually, I think I've read it since then. He had a spiritual experience where he was one with the universe. He had some kind of, let me explain something to you. Believe me, that was what he experienced is what we're all striving to try to do spiritually, in my opinion. And no, he never talked about it. But he did talk about, yeah, there is a cover-up at NASA about UFOs and aliens. He's come very forward about that, talked about it to everyone. Yeah, it was part of his testimony. He knew about the cover-up. He definitely told me and everybody else, you know. In fact, I was at a doctor's office one day and news was on, and I looked up there and he's talking about it, Dr. Mitchell talking about it on the news. Yeah, they're here, they've been here, and on like that. Now, him personally, I don't know if he's seen one or not, but he knows of the cover-up, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That he's mentioned to me, too. He knew about that.
So when you were walking the halls of NASA, how many people knew that there were things up there in space and were keeping quiet about it? Did everyone know? Was it a secret that was kept in certain departments, or was everybody pretty much in the know, saying, "Yeah, we know there's things up there, but we're not going to bring it public"?
Well, this is the weird thing. I've always studied parapsychology. I've always studied the abnormal, the normal, and people with like interests draw together. I had met some people from other buildings that were into parapsychology, mind control, things of the mind, and all this sort of thing. And would talk to them, and they knew about it. They'd heard, like I'd heard, there's no secrets anywhere. There's rumors. And the rumors I always heard seemed to be true. I've met since then witnesses that were firsthand witnesses, Mr. Wolf of the things on the moon, and I talked to him one-on-one for a long time. He's telling the truth. And it was a subject you just didn't bring up to everyone. We had a lot of people that were, how can I put this? People that if you would have mentioned it, you knew they'd poo-poo it. So therefore, you would never bring up that topic. I never brought up spiritual topics because I was in groups of people that had radical beliefs in their religion. And see, what I have found over the years, you don't talk about sex, religion, or politics in mixed groups because you never know when you're going to, and right now I'm probably offending a lot of people, but I'm sorry, I apologize for that. But you can't always say things that you want to say because you're going to offend someone somewhere. But so the topic only came up if, for me, like for instance, I had a man that was an atheist that I was friends with. And I really enjoyed talking to him and his belief system. And my immediate supervisor was a minister, Christian of the highest order in the sense that he believed the strict dogma of the Christian church. And one day I was talking to this non-believer in God, and I explained to him my concept of what I thought God was. And he said to me, well, I can understand that concept better than I can a person sitting on a throne. I said, yeah, it's a very limited person that's a finite person that can't control energy of universe, But we're talking, and I'm talking to him. Well, this minister comes over, and he says, oh, the blind leading the blind. And I don't know where it came from, but I said, well, we're finding God with our hearts, not with our eyes anyway. And I don't even know why I said that to the man, but it was almost as if I was guided not to talk to certain people because I knew very strictly how they believed. And so I'm not going to try to offend somebody on purpose, but he was obviously trying to offend both of us, because he was interrupting a conversation. So from an atheist to a possible, I can kind of believe in a higher power in the universe that may not be a person per se, but maybe a cosmic energy that's got it's acquired intelligence. Who knows? So it's a deep subject, and it's a lot of people that don't believe in God, that's great. That's their thing, People that do, that's great. And if you believe a certain dogma, that's great too. If you follow a guideline, whatever your beliefs are, if you don't harm other people and you don't try to force your will on other people, I think it's great. It's not going to hurt anybody. And I'm not out to save the world. I'm just out to save myself, right now. It's a full-time job to keep myself in line all the time.
When you came out and started discussing what you saw happen with NASA, mm-hmm. Did others behind the scenes start confiding in you to allow you to give you more information?
Yes, definitely. That did happen. Even I helped build another company on another place, and I had a guard that had worked at NASA. It was a black man that had worked at NASA as a guard. And he came into my office, and he shut the door, and he says, Donna, I understand you know about the UFOs at NASA. I said, yeah, I sure do. And he said, well, he had a guard watching him that was in fatigues, and he was to burn. We had an incinerator at NASA, and most places they have incinerators. He says, they told me I had to burn all these photographs and not look at them. And he told me he was scared. And he told me, he said, I couldn't resist it. The guard had a rifle, was guarding him. And he said one of them he looked at, and the next thing he knew, he got hit in the head and knocked out. The guard hit him in the head, the forehead, with a gun butt. He had a great big deep scar in his head. And he's telling me all this years later in my office at another company somewhere else, and he's terrified. He was terrified about it, and they scared him half to death. And so what he said he saw in the picture was a UFO, looked like it just landed in a field, tall grass, and the cattle's tails were stuck straight up. And he said, he said that when cattle are really afraid, now he told me this, their tails go up. And so all these cattle had their tails stuck up. And so it just must have landed. And he said this UFO, this circular disc thing, had like little bumps on it, like little knobs all over. Yeah, not knobs, but just little bumps all around on its surface. It kind of looked burnt too. So I'm thinking that was an experimental craft of one of ours that was photographed. I'm pretty sure, because I don't think the technology. I think the technology of the real crafts are pretty advanced, and I don't think they'd look like that. But that's what I'm guessing. It was one of ours that was cloned or redone. And by the way, we do have some that are very real looking. A lot of people are seeing those too. That's part of the scare everybody to death about aliens project, false flags and stuff.
Was there any ever talk when people came out to you in regards to what they knew or what they saw, how many different species there were, if there was actual communication, so on and so forth?
Oh yeah, Mr. Stone. Again, I had the wonderful honor of talking to him one-on-one, and his testimony was interrupted, and I couldn't believe that some other people were just trying to find out about technology during the CSETI, panel disclosure. But I talked to him one-on-one, and they are different species. Some people have the ability to communicate telepathic with these beings, and he was one of the few that could do that. So he was kind of like their part of the team that would go out and rescue or recover bodies or recover. I think they got an alien that was live one time that he told me that he released from captivity because the alien communicated to him psychically that his people were coming and that it could be bad for everybody there because they're going to come get him. And he went and talked to his lieutenant and said, "Look, they're coming. We gotta release this alien. They're coming, and they're not going to be careful. Somebody's, we're going to get hurt, basically." And so, from what I understand, he did release him. He did get back, and he was. So what Mr. Stone figured out too was, since he told his commander that he had to do it, commander didn't give him the okay to do it, but the commander didn't tell him not to. So he assumed that this has happened before. Maybe another one was captive, and they came and got it, and it was a bad scene. And I'm saying they probably came in and took everybody out to get to it or whatever. So, yes, I do believe there's many kinds of species that have come here. I don't think that I think there are some that are scientifically looking at us. I'm just guessing, but I'm thinking too that probably their planet may have been at a point in time where we're at. We're not really full and mature planet yet to be part of the bigger galaxy, I guess. And seeing how we cope and how we come with our experiences, come through them. And one of the things that I've noticed most about me teaching as a teacher, my students that had autism or students that had learning disabilities or people that are, I consider us the first level of people, this planet. We're very creative. We, laziness is the mother of all invention. We create things. We invent things that make life easier. And I think a lot of these beings take things from our world that they find interesting inventions, and maybe if they have use for them. So I think there's a lot of different species coming here with different interests that are very much, I think we can talk to them if we choose to do that. And that CE5 that Dr. Greer is teaching or has taught, it does work. I've seen it work. So it's very important about our intentions of everything, what our intent is. What do we just want to communicate with them to shoot them down and capture their technology for greed? Or are we really wanting to communicate on a level of friendship and knowledge and of a positive nature? But again, I don't think they really have any interest other than what they can take. I think some of them are very positive, and I don't know. I really can't say, but I do know there's different kinds, definitely different kinds of them. And by the way, if they wanted to take over this world, if any of these species wanted to do it, they had the technology to have done it a long time ago. So I don't think we need to be so scared, because they could have done it already if they were going to take over our world. So.
On that note, I'm going to get you to hold on here. Donna Hare is our guest tonight, former NASA contractor who actually saw photos being smudged with UFOs being erased before they were let into public. We're going to get more into ETs. We're going to get more into the moon and the Apollo missions and so much more. We might even talk a little bit of paranormal, because she's into the paranormal as well. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're down 2 hours, 1 hour to go. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this break.
We're getting strange on Saturday nights. Hi there, this is Dave Cruz, and each Saturday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I will take you on a tour of the weird and obtuse on Spaced Out Saturdays. From aliens to Sasquatch and every tinfoil hat in between, we got you covered. Join us at spacedoutradio.com for Spaced Out Saturdays. See you there.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers, whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange. The Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories From alien encounters to the latest conspiracies, you won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we'll get a little bit zen. Rachel Kirkland is back for her monthly appearance called The Spiritual You. We'll learn a little bit about shamanism, psychic ability, and so much more as we change trends heading into tomorrow night. Everything gets going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us as well. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Chatillionet. Chatillionet. Let's try it once more. Chatillionet is your password for tonight. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag like John and Sailor. If you want to connect with me live during the show, the hashtag is Spaced Out Radio. On Facebook, you can give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also join up with Claudia, Joyce, Robert, Joe, Gloria, Gail, and the group at the SOR Space Travelers group. They're chatting away in there during the show as they do each and every night. Mike, I see you in there as well as Bill. So just keep on chatting away. It'll be great. We're also on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Now, we're also on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, or download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read The Encounter online, or watch some great video footage from UFO seekers Tim Doyle and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. For the final time tonight, I introduce Donna Hare to you. She is a former NASA contractor who saw photos being smudged with UFOs on them. She learned a lot about her time at NASA and some of the secrets that NASA keeps. Donna, welcome back.
Hi, I'm back. I'm here.
Excellent. During the Apollo missions, there is some controversy whether or not it stopped at Apollo 17. It's believed there was an 18, a 19, a 20, possibly a 21. A lot of people who believe in the secret space program also believe that NASA has been covering up these secret launches. Did you ever hear of any other launches past 17?
No, I hadn't. I'll be honest with you. I terminated my employment there probably in that time period. I stopped working at NASA. In fact, my first day on the new company, helping with the art department there, was I watched the first shuttle launch for Skylab. And so I was out of the loop on the next Apollo missions. It was the Skylab missions that I had done a lot of work for the Skylab missions before I left there, but I remember the shuttle being launched while I was working at another company. So I was pretty much out of the loop on that. If there were, then it was done by private corporations. I'm not sure that NASA, at least not the contractors. I don't know. I don't think the company I'd worked for was involved in it. If there was those missions being done, it was done by probably another organization, either private or maybe kept totally secret about it. I know the funding was being cut and things like that. That was the excuse for it. But I'm not aware of it because I left during the Skylab missions. So I can't say for sure. Now, a lot of the people that still work there, say as secretaries or worked in other areas, they did tell me about testing of our back engineered craft, and the person that told me got in a lot of trouble for telling me. And the thing of it is, because I talked to one of the scientists that was part of it and told them that I knew about it, and they freaked out, wanted to know where I heard it from, and had to follow the line of contact. So I was good friends with this person, and I did divulge who told me what. And so I know that there were still things going on, but I think it was kept secret. I don't think that, how can I put this? It was publicized to the public. You know, it's like the public was probably funding it, or leftover residue from, let's say, Congress giving money to a NASA thing, but it wasn't in the mainstream of knowledge to a lot of contractors and things of that nature. So there's so much going on that's kept from the public. Believe me, so much. And I've come to that realization, and it's a secret stuff that it's hard to crack it and to get into the specifics, because everybody that works there or does things has to keep it secret. So yeah, we're still working, but I think it's done now more by private organizations and funding. So I know Japan was going to build something on the moon. I talked to one lady we were just friends, and she was doing proposals for China or Japan on things. So I don't know what went on, but it's kept from mainstream public. Let's put it that way. If it's going on, much more, and the people involved in it realize that they got to keep secrets. So I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I can't say for sure, but I speculate that there were probably more missions, and but we started just getting rid of everything. It was almost like erasing history that I saw. It was kind of sad. It's very sad.
As far as you know, had NASA ever had communications with extraterrestrials during any of their missions?
Let me think. Well, I know they had pictures of things, and someone sent me a video, and sometimes I don't even know where half this stuff comes from. It just pops up on my computer. I have no clue. I guess somebody in there wants me to see it, but I've seen the astronauts walking around ancient structures on the moon, and some of them not so ancient. But no. No, NASA has never, or no one at NASA has said that they've talked to them directly, during missions. That I can remember anybody telling me that.
During Apollo 11, it was said that Neil Armstrong, on a private channel, had stated, "They are here, they are on the hill, and they are watching us." Did you ever hear any conversation about that when we first landed on the moon?
Yes. In fact, you reminded me, the man that was in quarantine with him that I had met, he said they used the word Santa Claus. Santa Claus is here, or something to that effect. Yeah, he told me that they were here, and they were watching him land on the moon. I imagine they have some pretty good film of it. I'd like to see their film, or whatever they use. But yeah, that was part of some of the things that they had talked about, or he had talked about to me. I had forgotten about that. And he said, I'm trying to remember everything, because I'm trying to write this stuff down too. He talked about how did he say it? he said just about all of them had seen something, or seen a craft or seen something following them, or all of the astronauts that had seen something were told not to talk. Well, most of them have talked about it, though, afterwards, much later. And so hopefully they're going to be cool about it and not hurt them. But, yeah, definitely. They were there. 2 to 3 craft were sitting on a crater adjacent or something, watching them. And they referred to him as Santa Claus. I guess that was code word at the time for him.
Do we know if NASA, even through your conversations with Edgar Mitchell or others, ever noticed any bases on the moon from their photographs? Maybe you saw a photograph of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Mr. Wolf saw, a photograph of structures on the moon that were made, not natural structures. Now, for me, recently, I'm getting more information that even after the fact of things that are reminding me about my own personal experiences that I had there. A base on the moon. Who told me that? Yeah. There are photographs of things that I've seen, but I do know that at one point I'd heard that the moon was hollow. The moon was like a big craft because they pinged it to see the density of it, and was not a dense thing. It was not like it should be, denser than it was. So again, I've heard rumor it's been pulled into our orbit. It's not really. So if you want to call that a base, I guess you could, but it's definitely has things there that I don't think they want us to go to. I'd also heard that we had tried to, one of the Russian cosmonauts, they were taking certain things out and not letting people see things. From what I hear, rumored is that they didn't want us coming back to the moon.
How come?
So they just told us not to come back, and they were destroying certain probes and things, Russian stuff, and we quit coming back to the moon. But I do know that which person told me this? I'm trying to remember who told me this. That we'd shot flares down to light up the dark side of the moon and saw structures there on the dark side of the moon. So we definitely have had things that people have said that they have seen this. Now I'm trying to think what astronaut had talked about that. I can't remember which astronaut, or even if it was an astronaut, but they were talking about, they were structures on the dark side of the moon that were more, I guess, contemporary, not the ones you're seeing that are just rocks and stuff like that look ancient. But they're definitely somebody there. They're not, I can't remember who told me. It's almost as if, oh, gosh.
That's okay.
I can't remember. I'm sorry. I can't remember.
It's
is probably because I didn't want to tell on them. Because when somebody tells me something and says not to tell them that they told me that, I tend to try not to remember who told me what. So I won't ever accidentally mess up and tattle on somebody that doesn't want to be outed yet. So I don't. There's a lot of people out there who want this information out, and they can't come forward, and they've got the positive proof more than I could ever prove to anybody. So there's a lot of people in the secrecy of it all that want it out. So I'm hoping that they're the ones sending me stuff, because it sure looks real, and it looks, somebody sent me the picture of the thing I saw being covered up by the lady in the airbrush room. They sent me a picture of what I saw, and which I had never seen that before. It just was sent to me, and then I thought it was somebody, and then I found out from that person they didn't send it to me. And I think Mr. Morningstar, he was telling me, yeah, sometimes Google collect pictures of your interest and things and send them to you. So okay, well, great. I don't know who got that picture to me, but I appreciate it. And it was what I had seen. It pretty well proves that part of my statement of what was going on in my own personal life, of seeing this. So up until then, I'd never had a photograph of what I'd seen until then.
Do you have any photographs in your possession now?
Well, what happened was I was going through my memorabilia, and I found a photograph, and I really had never really looked at it that close. It was of but it was being thrown away. It was they had these carts that they'd send to all this film, all this stuff that was going to the incinerator. And I was collecting my pieces of artwork that I'd done and copies of stuff I'd done for my, resume and stuff like that. So this photograph was laying on top, and I saw it. It was the first black and white photograph I'd ever seen. Usually it's films and things like that going to the incinerator. So I picked it up, and I just put it with my stuff. I hadn't looked at it until a little while ago, not too long ago. And actually, the only reason I looked at it was because I was in that movie Aliens on the Moon with my testimony, and I started seeing things, and I had pulled out that picture, and I realized on this rover picture that I had, in the background was the limb, and behind the limb was this big disc, a radio disc. Well, I got to looking at it, and I know perspective. That disc had to be huge. And from being in that show, Aliens on the Moon, I realized this disc in my photograph was too big. It couldn't have possibly been brought there in the limb. The little cart they were running around in that was packed and put in there, it was just limited space in the capsule to get there. This what do you call it? Big disc, radio disc. It had a thing coming out of it. Well, I'm looking at this picture, and I realized after being in that show and seeing the pictures that they had, that I had a picture of it from NASA that has its NASA number on it and everything. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is no way this dish could have been there. Now you got to remember something. I had been aware of UFOs being there, and I had never really looked at this picture closely. And the legs on the dish, the fold up dish that they did for communication to Earth was fold up. It had real skinny legs on it. That's what they took up there. Well, this dish had huge legs on it, like in the movie Aliens on the Moon, that I was documented in it with my testimony. And it dawned on me, oh my God, it's in plain sight. This is a picture of this in plain sight. So what I did was I sent it to someone, and I asked them, I said, look, I don't have any more. I accidentally have this one. I never looked at it till recently. I'm going to get it out. I gave it to another researcher, and he put it out. I said, say it's your own. Somebody gave it to you. I don't care, but I don't have any more. This is the only one I accidentally have. And he published it, and he put it out, and he took it. I said, you don't even, please, just know, because I don't want people thinking I have a whole variety of these things. I don't. I didn't think to go around collecting them, trying to get pictures of these, what I'm talking about, UFOs in NASA stuff. But this particular picture was released. He did release it. He's released it to the public. So, yes, I had one. And like I say, I didn't even know what I had until recently, a year or two ago. So I did find out. We did some talks on another show. I shared that picture, and I did share it with them, and it's been digitized and sent around and studied. So I don't feel that I've kept anything secret. I've released what I've got, what I knew as far as a photograph. But as far as anything else, I have nothing else. And it's been, what's really cool about the one I released to them, it's got the stars in the background. All of the pictures that NASA did was they would cover the background of the star systems in the photographs. You know, usually I think they did it for reasons other than they say it's for beauty of the picture. And I think they took those star systems out in the background so that you wouldn't really know where the heck they were located. If you could triangulate and see where the stars were behind them, then you can kind of tell where this is all at. So again, I think there's still cover-ups in some things that they don't want people to know about. And so as far as anything else, I've released everything I have, and you know, I'm not trying to make money or sell it. I feel that everything that my testimony, everything belongs to the public. It's not mine personally anymore, because people have a right to know things. And I think that the technologies that we're learning and all of the things that we've learned through NASA should be out there for everybody, because that's why we're out there. We're looking for new things. We're exploring space. I mean, come on. It's a new frontier. It really is. And that belongs to the world, not just to us or a select few, like it's being kept. So, yes, I'm for these things. So, again, that's about all I know about that.
I want to get to Claudia's question here, and she asks, do the employees who view the footage that comes back from space, do they have a top level of security clearance? Also, have you seen military with top security clearance visiting NASA often? Yeah, I've seen military. Yeah, I have, but I don't know about often. You got to remember, I worked a lot. I stayed at my spot and worked a lot. So I only, when we had downtime between missions, did I ever really go out and around. You said, see, and what was your question before that? Did I see military? And what else did you say? Did the people viewing the videos have top secret clearance?
Okay. Yeah, everybody in the lab had a high clearance like that. I didn't. I just had secret, because I worked in a lab across the way from that lab in the same building. When I viewed it, you got to remember, I had some downtime, and I was friends with everybody in all the labs, and they just ran the film for me. I was the only one there watching that film. Now, it was not, I think it was already probably spliced. I'm not sure if they took anything out of it. I saw a film that was going to be shown to the public, so it was not, I'm sure that's why they showed it to me, so that I could critique it or whatever. That's all. It was just given to me as a gift by the lab techs. They were just all nice people, and they let me look at it. And like I say, I was the only one watching it at the time, but it wasn't like, now I'm sure that the other films that had things in it that could have been were not shown to everybody or the public. No. But as far as military, Department of Defense, oh yeah. They would, like I say, I've worked on projects that you could tell which ones were which. There was guards at our door. We couldn't take any paper out. We went to the restroom. We had to not carry anything out with us. There were things, but see, what people don't realize how compartmentalized it was. sometimes I didn't even know the name of the job I worked on. Everything had numbers on it. My job codes, they were called job codes. I could work for 2 hours on one job and then switch a job, work some more hours on another job, and not even know what the project was or who it was for, unless I went up and talked to the engineers or the writer. And I only did that if I had a question about something I couldn't read properly, or I couldn't see. Maybe they hand printed a lot of things, and I had to ink it, do ink lettering or things like that. So I'd find out about something that I was working on. In fact, the weird thing was, the guards at the door, we weren't allowed to know what we were working on. And, but I had a question about one of my drawings because I couldn't read a number properly, and I knew the numbers were critical to have them right. So I went and talked to the writer who writes things after the engineers do it for the books. And I asked him what that number was, and he told me what the number was, and then he starts telling me what the job was about. And I'm thinking, okay, he told me, I didn't ask. And these were electronic schematics to a NORAD doors that automatically shut during a war. And I went, oh, no wonder they're keeping that secret. They don't want anybody to know the electronics on the doors, automatic doors. So, okay, well, that's okay. I understand that. But then I got to thinking, oh my gosh, this is scary. This is scary. So we've done a lot of work, and I've done a lot of work for people that I didn't even know who I was working for. I mean, you're kind of compartmentalized. You not only don't know who you're working for, you don't even know the job you're on, and you really can't tell, right? Wiring schematics and things like that, and diagrams. And they use these coded words for your diagrams and things that you could hardly understand. The only thing that I worked on that I really could read that was English was the maintenance manuals, and also the manuals, flight control manuals for flying the shuttle. Those were, you could read those all day long and understand them. But usually everything was so compartmentalized that a lot of times you couldn't even know what the person next to you is working on. And I think now I look back over it, it was planned that way. It was planned. It was definitely planned. So,
in regards to you getting the photograph out of NASA, how were you able to do that without anybody checking you for security to see if you were taking anything?
Well, what it was there was not that kind of security there as far as, okay, I wore a badge, I was cleared to go there. And when I come in and out, well, I just picked it up because they were going to burn it. I got copies of the stuff I'd worked on so that I could have it for my portfolio and things like that. I never felt like I was being checked for that. This is what I'm talking about, in plain view. Everything was in plain view, pretty much, except for when it was craft like saucer shape. I picked it up, put it on my desk. I took it home. I didn't try to hide it. I wasn't stealing anything because usually if you're throwing it away, you don't want it anymore. And they were throwing away a bunch of, these 3-ring binders. And at the time, they were like real expensive, $7 or $8 a binder. And they're just throwing them away. So I would take them and donate them to, I would take acetone and take all of the silk screen labeling off of them and give them to kids at schools and needy kids that needed binders. I just couldn't see throwing away thousands of dollars worth of binders for kids that needed them. And I felt that was cool. I didn't feel like I was stealing because they were throwing them away. So, I didn't do a whole bunch of them, but a few of them I did. I just couldn't see throwing things away. No, I never felt like I was stealing or doing anything wrong because, like I say, at the time when I took that picture, it was going to the incinerator. And when I took the picture, I wasn't really looking for proof or things like trying to prove NASA knew. You see, I really didn't think about, that was not my agenda while working there. My agenda was to get the job done and to learn what I was doing there. And that was my main thought while I was at work. Now, on my own free time, I guess it was different, but no, I didn't feel, I was trying to think. We had a guard at our other, but no, I played a guitar, taught myself guitar, and I'd bring my guitar in a case, and nobody ever checked it. Nobody, I mean, I guess probably people could be stealing, but I mean, if you're working at a company and you've got a good job you want, I mean, you're not going to be stealing things. I mean, I think they understood that, or they trusted everybody that worked there, but they never, the guards never looked at, all they checked was our badges to make sure we were who we were. That was it. But I'm sure we were checked out thoroughly before we ever got the job, you know, to make sure we were not dishonest or bad people. I do know they checked with a lot of people before they hired me. A lot of distant relatives, they kind of know where you live before you know where you lived. So, and they can run checks and know everything about you before they hire you. So, once you're hired and you've got a clearance, and you're the higher you go up in clearance, the more detail they go with who you are and all about you. So, you know, no, I never was checked. Never felt I was doing anything wrong. So,
had anybody ever come up to you, say your former coworkers, and given you further information, like photographs or books or something along that line?
Yeah, well, I told you about the black guard that had been out there that was hit in the head. To be honest with you, some of the lab techs that I was friends with, they're terrified to talk to me, so I can't talk to them. I don't want to make them feel uneasy. One of the lab guards that was an older man, he came to me and he said, "Donna, you're absolutely right." But they told me, now this man was an immigrant. He was just a beautiful person. I love this man. I think he was like from Italy or somewhere. Anyway, he told me, he said, "Oh yeah, but what they told the lab techs was these UFOs they think they might be Russian, and if you're a patriotic American, you're not going to talk about it." So some of them were told, if you're a patriot, you're not going to talk about it. And then others that were very aware that they were extraterrestrials were told not to talk about it, or they lose their pension and whatever, you know. So they had a scam going on. They played on your patriotism about that. But he came to me and he said, yeah, they definitely had told him that. And so this was another gentleman that had been, he told me later about it. And his niece was telling me too. So yeah, there'd been people definitely come to me and talk about it. It's like I try not to bring it up to them, people that I know that know so much more than I do. I try to stay as far away because I've jeopardized some people's jobs by being their friend, which has been sad for me because I enjoyed their friendships. And but I know that my presence around them can jeopardize them. So I just don't associate. And it's been heartbreaking for me to not associate with people that I really cared and thought highly of. So I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to jeopardize their lives and their jobs and all that. So I've kind of stayed away too. I've alienated myself from them, even though because I understand what's going on in their lives, and I've kind of encoded messages. When I send them a message, I pretty much reassure them I'm not going to use their names and things like that, and because they're still working heavily into all this stuff. So, and I would not do that. People have to out themselves. I'm not going to out them. I'm just not going to ever do that to another individual.
Claudia is asking, Donna, have you ever heard the mention of what the Vatican telescope Lucifer may have found as of yet?
No, I have no idea what that's about at all, to be honest with you.
The Vatican put a large telescope in the middle of the desert of New Mexico, and they named it Lucifer, of all names.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
When did they do that?
Oh, within the last 2 years.
I have to do some research on that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of weirds a lot of people out that the Vatican, of all places, would name it after what people say is the devil's name. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Lucifer. Well, it was that is too weird.
Mm-hmm.
That is... Well, I do know the Jesuit priests definitely do deep research, and they do research that's really opposing to church doctrine, but they do it in secret for the church, I guess. But yeah, I know that they do a lot of studying. I'll have to find out about. In fact, yeah, I'll see. I'm trying to think right now, who do I know in the Vatican? I don't know anybody in the Vatican, but I do know some other people that might have information about that. So I'll find out, see what I can find out, or at least what they're saying about it.
From Australia, Robert White has a question. He's saying, Donna, when you were working or walking around the NASA halls, did you ever notice any paranormal activity inside?
Inside of I'm trying to think. Trying to think. I worked out there a while. Well, not really. I did do a little test. I had some people in my office that we were. I was interested in parapsychology, and I told them to. I told them about this. You can send people a thought. Now, you can send people a thought, and if it's not abnormal to the nature of their thinking, in other words, it's against their morals, they'll probably do it. And so it was so funny because I used to wear like a bow type string thing in my hair that pulled back, and the little cords came down beside my head. And it was so funny because I had told them about this experiment. So guess what? Everybody in my office decided to do it on me. Send me a thought. And so I was sitting there, and I was working quietly at my desk, and all of a sudden I felt people looking at me. And I looked up, and they were all staring at me. And I reached up and pulled both of those little rope things on my head, like in shock. And that's the thought they were sending me, to do that, to see if that was true. Because I was teaching people different methods of how you could do things like that. And found out later I'm not supposed to do that. So, not from NASA, but I'm not supposed to teach people how to do that. They got to find it out on their own. But anyway, what was so funny was that, plus I had, that was it, but I kind of instigated that paranormal thing. But no, nothing like that I can remember offhand at all.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot in my own life, in my own personal life I did, but not then.
Well, tell us a couple stories.
Of the paranormal things that I can honestly say?
Yes.
Pretty phenomenal. This one, if it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have believed it. I used to have a friend, her name was Pat, and she and I used to do bowling league together, and I was a horrible bowler, but she's big, tall, blonde woman. Her statue was almost like a man, and she was so huge and strong, and she was very interested in the parapsychology and all this mind stuff, and so we started kind of a friendship, and I discovered this woman was so extremely powerful, it was scary. I was telling her about an exercise, you send me pictures you look at a picture and send it to me over the phone. And she would, so one day she did this, and we were doing this, and all of a sudden I see this devil face coming at me, and I go, woo. She starts laughing. She says, I said, quit doing the devil picture. And she said, yeah, she was looking at her kid's picture. It had a Halloween mask on that was a devil. Well, this woman was so powerful, it was getting kind of scary for me, because we'd go to a lecture. My school is progressive. They had a psychic there going to speak. And we were at the very back of the whole audience. And she's sitting to my left, and she's so powerfully strong that I was actually could understand or feel or know what she was doing. And the minute this psychic went on stage, she's sitting by me, and she sends him this sexual thought. And when she did it, his head kind of flipped back, and he looked at me. And I'm going, oh, my God, he thinks I did that. And so I reach up, put my hand up by my breast so that he could see my hand, and I'm pointing at her, and under my breath I'm telling her, don't do that, to stop it. And she's giggling, she's playing with this stuff. And I pointed to her, and she did it, I didn't do that. So what I started noticing with her, she was becoming, how can I put this, very turning to the dark side with it. She was getting so good at this stuff that I find that that's what happens when you become very good at doing some of this stuff. You go ego. You get real, I'm God, follow me, worship me. This is not a good thing to go there. You can't do that. But anyway, so I started noticing Pat was treating me like I should be her apostle. And we're both teachers and both students at the same time. So I could sense her air of being that I should be submissive. She was going to be more controlling of me, that I should be more, it was just a whole different attitude change over time. She started getting this wanting to argue with me. If I'd say, look, you got to be careful what you're doing with this stuff. You're like a baby with a gun. You can't do this, and very arrogant. I was trying to warn her of the backlash that can happen. And so anyway, one day I'm sitting waiting for her, and every day she'd come over at 3:00, come in my side door, just like clockwork, 3:00, and she'd come to my side door. Well, this day I'm sitting on the couch waiting for her, and I look up, and in my wet bar area across from my den, I see this being of light appear. Okay, it just whoop, and it was like an outline, and it was flat, and I'm looking at this being of light, and it was like blue plus white carbon arc light, and inside of it looked like smoky, swirling smoke, and I'm looking at this, and then it drifts across like it's going to the living room, and my front door's by the living room, and I thought, okay, I just saw this, I'm not even going to say anything to Pat, this is just totally unbelievable. Well, she comes to the front door for the first time. This being of light went to the front door, toward the front door. She'd never come through the front door, always the side door. And all of a sudden, so when I went to answer the front door, I looked in and I didn't see him in the living room, the being of light. So I'm not even going to say a word. I'm not going to say anything about this to her. And so she's sitting on the couch with me, and we're talking metaphysics, and I'm teaching her things about little things to do and stuff like this, and on and on. Well, all of a sudden, the being of light appears again in the wet bar area. Well, I'm looking at it. We're both looking at it. And I notice she stops talking. And I'm looking at this being of light, and it comes, and it comes. It doesn't come near us, but it's across the room. And immediately it has a mind-to-mind contact with me. And it says to me that I should not be teaching people what I'm doing. I should not teach them this. Well, I thought that was my mission. I thought, I'm experiencing these things. I'm supposed to teach it. If everybody knew when somebody's lying, what a better world this would be. You'd have to tell the truth. I always was positive. Well, this being of light told me not to teach this stuff, that I shouldn't be doing that. And that's when it told me it's like giving a gun to a baby. And so then it addressed her, but it shut me off from what it was saying to her. And all I can guess is that it told her, well, I'll tell you in a minute what it told her, I think. So it addressed her, and then then it went away. It just dissipated. The way it went, it just went up like a little smoky zigzag. And I looked over at her, and those cartoon characters where your eyes pop out and your tongue's out and your mouth's dropped open, that's what she looked like. And she said to me, she said, "What was that?" I said, "Well, it sure wasn't from around here, you know." And she got up, almost in a trance, like, you know, like zombie mode, got up and left my house. She would not come back over. She she told me that, you know, she wanted me to come out of the house and go meet her somewhere else. Well, she was terrified. And I personally was never afraid. It didn't seem negative. It was positive. So, all right. So I didn't hear from her for a whole year. And she finally called me, and she had moved to Florida and became a Unity minister. And I said, "Are you still into all that parapsychology and all this stuff?" And she said, "No, I quit doing that." And so, okay, she got the message, quit doing what she was doing. And so I said, "Well, you know, I still don't know who it was, you know, what that being was, because I hadn't seen it since. I only saw it that time when you were here, and, you know, I haven't seen it since." And she says, "It was Metatron." Now, at the time, I didn't know who Metatron was, okay? And I said, "Metatron." So I did research later and found out it was a scribe of some being that had died and had progressed to a higher state and was a scribe or whatever, and scribing the history of our world or whatever. And so I realized at that point, I'd seen it, she'd seen it, and she was terrified of it. So I quit teaching the whole thing about it. So it's, you know, I don't know why that I'm not supposed to teach, but I guess from that standpoint that people's personal ego comes involved, and then it goes to the negative. It goes to, they lose track of where this energy or this connection is coming from, and they get egocentric on, I'm godlike. It's just me, and it defeats the purpose, I think, of having these contacts or these abilities that we all naturally have. It's just opening the door to allowing them to happen, is my opinion. I think everybody has these abilities that are so far ahead that nobody would believe it until they experience it. You know, remote viewing, clairvoyance, psychokinesis, all kinds of abilities that everyone has that's being blocked right now by philosophies and dogma and things of that nature. So in that sense, I had hoped to, but I also realized too that we have to learn to keep our egos in control of not letting them take over who we really are or who we're meant to be. And an ego-based reason for it is will limit you, and you'll do your own self-limiting by being that way. So anyway, this woman, like I say, I hadn't heard from her after that, but she had learned, and that's just one of many. I mean, I've had so many experiences, not necessarily with other beings, but just my own spontaneous experiences. So I always look at a spontaneous experiences. What did I learn from this? What was my mindset? How did that happen? Why was I given that information? Why was I, I question my own personal experiences in depth of what good would this be? Why did I need to know this? And I also believe we can foresee the future. And I had one more experience. Well, I'll tell you this. When I spontaneously had a dream that the firstborn of the part owner of our company, son, would die. I had a dream about it. And I was really worried about it. And I got a friend and we both prayed for his protection. And I said, we've got to move this. We've got to pray for him. And so she and I prayed. And so, well, it happened 2 or 3 months after I'd had that dream that he was killed in a car crash. And I was furious. I said, okay, God, why did you have me dream this very real dream? Wasn't it so we could pray and prevent it? Why give me this ability or this info if I can't do it, change it through prayer? Why even know this ahead of time if we can't change it? And I heard this information come into my head. It was not my thoughts. It said that we can move events in time to affect the least number of people through our prayers, our thoughts. And then I thought back, and then I remembered the father of this young man was selling our product at the time it was supposed to happen. Then our product, he sold all our products. When it did happen, our corporation took over and was building the products. He was able to take off time to mourn his son's death because the event was moved in time forward. Not exactly when it was going to happen, but in time, so that it would affect the least number of people. Because if it would have happened and we hadn't prayed, every job, mine included, would have been lost because he had not sold all the products that we had to make to keep the business going. And so praying for him showed we can also, it affects our own lives when we pray for other people, not just, and then I said, well, what I also got on this was that his decision to leave was already ordained. We cannot interfere with another person's free will to leave. On a soul level, he wanted to leave. And I can go into the details of what they told me or whoever told me.
We only have about 2.5 minutes left, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's it. So we can move events in time, and so these events that we get, sometimes there's a lot more knowledge involved than just the superficial event.
Mm-hmm. So where do you take your research from here?
I'm into remote viewing right now. I'm finding that's kind of it's considered, I hear, a science now because it's reproducible. And right now, I've had some success with that. And it's reproducible. People can learn how to do it. And it's part of the psychic abilities of all that people have. I mean, this is what's so cool. Everybody can do everything, and they just aren't aware they can do it. And that's what's so awesome, that you can do these things. So that's where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. I'm just investigating that right now. And so I used to do readings for people, but I got overwhelmed. That's one reason I got an unlisted number and phone and a P.O. box. I had people come to my house. So it's just that when you do these things and you hook up with people to do readings and for them, you are becoming part of their paradigm. You're feeling their emotions. You're getting into their drama. I would be so wore out after doing readings for people, especially people that were depressed or upset, because you connect with them and you're feeling it too. And it's just a draining situation that I haven't learned how to handle it yet, I guess. But no, I think right now the coming thing is going to be the world, things that, send out the positive thoughts of the world coming, healing, losing the fear and the guilt and whatever they need to do to get more at peace. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in this whole thing. So this is my goal right now.
Well, I appreciate, Donna, you coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight with your information and insider view of NASA covering up photos. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. I appreciate that.
I'm going to get you to hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking us in the background. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night on the program, Rachel Kirkland joins us, the Modern Shaman, with her segment that comes on the first Tuesday of every month called The Spiritual You. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. I want to say thank you to my great team that is ever expanding. We will continue to announce our team changes coming up very, very soon, including Amy Martin from Amy on the Radio. Appreciate all of you guys being a part of this as well in the audience. On Twitter, you guys were fantastic tonight. Especially you, John, at Cubby Creative. Everyone in the Spreaker chat room, the SOR Space Travelers, you guys were having a great time tonight. Keep it up, my friends. We'll be back in 21 hours from now because we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. Take us home.